Before you say anything, there is a killer version of this video. It's already been uploaded. My first 400 hours in DBD was purely on killer. I played literally zero Survivor. I eventually, of course, did, and doing so brought me a better perspective on what playing Survivor was like. I started understanding a lot of frustrations Survivor players had. Being tunneled, camp, and slug can be frustrating and sometimes even rather boring. Having to rely on your teammates is annoying. Facing the same killers over and over again gets dull, and sometimes there's a certain feeling of helplessness that isn't exactly avoidable. But, just like with killers, sometimes Survivor mains say shit that is just so goddamn dumb, I felt the need to compile some of the worst ones into today's video, and that's what we'll be doing today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy me being mad for the next, I don't know how long this video is going to be, bro. I don't plan videos out like that. Comment 1. Ugh, this killer was so sweaty, they wouldn't even be goofy with me. Let me ask you something. Why is it only killers who are lambasted for playing their objective? Like, in all my time in this community, I've never heard anyone go, ugh, these survivors are so sweaty, they did the generators. Like, don't get me wrong, I've heard killers complain about gen rushing and shit, but to me that's the same level of complaint as tunneling, camping, slugging. It's more complaints of annoyance than outright hostility, most of the time. But I mean, every time a killer dares to, hang on, let me check my notes, kill people, they are called sweaty or toxic and sometimes completely awful things that I will not repeat. It's their objective to kill you, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I hate farming games as Survivor. Sitting there and letting the killer kick the gen over and over again is just fucking boring. When I get a farming killer, I finish gens far away from the rest of the lobby, open the gate, and leave. I hate it. Whether I'm on Survivor or Killer, I just want to play the game, man. I just want to try and win against someone else who's trying to win. I might get frustrated, I might even get pissed when I'm getting steamrolled, but I would rather that than every game going 25 plus minutes because y'all want to play gen kick, gen repair simulator all fucking match. It's just truly a baffling thing whenever I sit there and I watch survivors get super mad because the killer didn't stop and stare at the sky with you for fucking whatever amount of time. The only time I will ever be like, maybe the killer's a little bit of an asshole is whenever you're doing a glyph and the killer feels the need to interrupt you doing the glyph. Dude, if you're a killer main and you see a survivor doing a glyph, you're going to get that hit or that down or whatever. Like, you're going to get it. Just wait until the glyph disappears and then hit them. Quit being a dick. Comment number 2. Tunneling, slugging, and camping make you a bad killer. I mentioned this in my killer video, but it bears repeating here. Using viable strategies does not make you a bad killer. You just would rather blame anything but yourself on the fact you lost. And I get it, losing doesn't feel good, and sometimes it really does feel like everything else is to blame. Being left on the ground for 4 minutes by a humping killer is really fucking boring, and sometimes map RNG just completely screws you. Sometimes your teammates are even really bad, and it doesn't feel good to be in that situation. But conventional tunneling, slugging, and camping are all strategies to win, and in fact, they sometimes need to be done at various points in the match for various reasons. Many of those reasons being your fault. I know a lot of survivors don't want to fucking hear this, but yeah, most of the time it's your fault. I've made 3 videos on tunneling, camping, and slugging individually, and I do plan on returning to all 3 of them with a full script at some point, but the crux of it is the vast amount of the time these things happen are a direct response to survivors' actions. Unhooking in the killer's face, sabotaging hooks, hovering with flashlights, body blocking with base kit borrowed time, going down under a pallet with someone hovering, swarming the killer when a down happens, and much more. And sometimes the killer is forced into some of these things just because of how the match goes. A killer might need to tunnel because there's 2 gens left and they have no kills. Sometimes hook RNG fucks them so they need the slug. Sometimes we need a camp to confirm a second stage and give us an edge. It happens, and claiming that incurring any of these strategies makes you a bad killer is just further proof you have no game sense and a lack of fundamental understanding of how this game is played. Comment 3. Why did the killer abandon me? I just want to be chased. I made a whole video on this one a while back, but the basics of this comment and why it annoys me so much is it just simply is not smart to chase someone that you can't catch. And seasoned killer players have learned that if a survivor is teabagging, flashlight clicking, basically begging to be chased, then they are better avoided unless you have them in a vulnerable spot. In a meta where a 45-second chase can mean 3 gens popping back to back, I cannot dedicate too much time to you. There's also the problem that it just isn't fun to get pallet stunned over and over again, or watch you run a pseudo-infinite because we ended up on something like Garden of Joy or Gas Haven, where the main buildings are basically unbeatable. Some maps let you win as Survivor just because of what the map is, and I don't fancy wasting my time. I want to play the game, not hold W around Shaq all match. Or let's also not forget the pre-drop parries, who don't actually loop anything but just waste all your time by running from pallet to pallet, dropping as soon as they get there. But the main reason we won't chase is because it isn't smart, and I don't feel like throwing my game trying to catch someone who's uncatchable just because you want to, quote, have a fun time, which, by the way, is something that I've noticed over the years, I haven't been playing this game for years, but over the time I've played this game, one thing that I've kind of noticed is that people think that you're boring if you don't let them win, and that's essentially what this all boils down to. You want me to always chase you so that your teammates can do all the gens so that I can let you win. That might not be the intentional thing, that might not be what you're consciously thinking, but that is what you're thinking. You would rather me chase you and waste my time so that your teammates can get out, rather than me trying to actively win the game. I am not a bad person, nor should I be shamed for recognizing that I can't catch you at that moment in time and leaving you to go take care of what my objective is. Comment 4. Why do killers run slowdown so much? It's so boring. First off, I am convinced half of y'all don't like the killer perks no matter what we run, because I have several full aura reading builds and I still get complaints. One time I ran Myers, double green add-ons, monitor, infectious, surge, and forced hezi. I got accused of pay to win cringe and then got a slur thrown at me. You fuckers are never happy with the perk choice of killers. It's always some kind of complaint about something. Second of all, the reason that killers run slowdowns is because when we don't run slowdowns, gens pop like bottles in an expensive bar that's being frequented by Drake and his posse of toddler texters. Running 0 or only 1 slowdown basically guarantees you will end up in scenarios where all 4 survivors are alive, 3 gens have finished, and you barely have any pressure. It's infuriating. Now, I'm not saying quad slowdown isn't annoying, and in fact, I actively encourage killers to not run quad slowdown, because you are missing out on actually interesting games when you run it. But don't pretend like it isn't justified that killers are running these slowdowns when gens pop left and right no matter what you do if you're not running any kind of slowdown at all. Comment 5. Why are killer perks so much better than survivor perks? It's not fair. First off, I don't really know how accurate that is, and to be honest, I'm far too lazy to go do a one-to-one comparison, but in the case that it is an accurate statement, it's because there's 4 of you. I find myself, once again, having to explain to people that in an asymmetrical game, the team with the lesser amount of numbers has to be stronger than the individuals with more people. In the case of Dead by Daylight, the killer has to be 4 times as strong as each individual survivor, because there are 4 survivors to 1 killer. That's why you aren't supposed to be winning chases. You are supposed to go down eventually. You are supposed to lose the 1v1 at some point. Similarly, your perks are not supposed to be on an equal playing field. That's why boons are range-based while hexes are map-wide. If boons were map-wide, then 4 people can bring boons and create an unwinnable situation. Similarly, you have a lot of once-per-game perks like DS, Unbreakable, and more, because if all 4 survivors have unlimited uses of these, then the killer would never be able to reasonably do anything. And hell, even in their current state of once per game, these perks are still incredibly strong, especially when brought in a pack. It's the same thing with items. Items cannot be on the same level as killer powers because there are 4 people and 4 different items with the same amount of pressure that can be created by a killer power is just bad news. I know it's hard to understand, but DBD is not a game you can carry your team in. It's not Apex or Fortnite or League or any of those. Not only is Survivor a team-based role, the entire balance of the game relies on you inherently being weaker than the killer in a 1v1 situation, and you're just gonna have to figure that out. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know down below what are some dumb comments from survivors you've heard. People have wanted me to make a video on the Survivor and Killer rulebooks for a while, and this was the best way I could think to do it. Outside of that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. You want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.